Augustine. Okay, I guess we're waiting for a few more people. Let's do that. Everyone knows who Richard and I are. And thank you for accepting our proposal to make the launch of the eaccgn, the launch of the things that give us joy. And from Richard and my perspective, we think it's really, really significant that the things that gives us joy comes from Africa, because it just captures our whole humanity in the way I described before. It is the source of where we come from. It is also the youngest continent. It is the continent that faces the most from all the craziness in the weather and the extremes and the chaos that they create. It is also the one with incredible optimism that seeks out for a new connection with the world around us through an emergent economics, through a new call for agency to have to control yourselves, and in doing so, through really a new learning. We all need to learn how to live in a way that's populous and in connection with each other and with the planet, and that provides for our overall well-being. So I think that is really, really significant that this comes not from a rich country, but actually from a body of young people from the area where every one of you directly sees what is the consequences of all the crazy weather that we've created for ourselves. So thank you for that. Richard, anything you want to say? Maybe, yes.
I don't think you left anything out really. Thank you guys for logging on at this hour as well with relatively short notice, and much appreciated. We really look forward to the launch. And obviously many thanks to Kaka for being the organizer on your side. See more people logging on, which is excellent. Should we kick off, David?
Richard?
Yeah. There seems to be 11 of us here, which is very good.
Okay. Someone needs to chair this. Who wants to chair it?
I can chair it. And I'll take some minutes in the meantime.
So I'm going to, I'm going to open up and we should get going, otherwise we're not going to get going.
Yeah. I've lost the visual on you.
Yeah, I have a few basic morning stuff to sort out still, okay. But yeah. Let's get going. I think we should let's get everyone to say who they are, so we know.
Yeah.
We know where we are, and let's think about this is about the launch. This is about what needs to be done for it, how And so we want to know what has been talked about, what has been prepared, what's the game plan, so that we can see how Richard and I can become properly a part of it. So that's what we want to know. And I would like to be able to, I would like the chance to be able to be at the launch, and in making that journey, that I would also like the chance to go and visit and talk to the people from all the different countries and places which Richard and I have spoken to on the phone, on the different things, as well as part of that journey. So it would be good to be able to see whether that is possible, and obviously, if possible, to speak to people there as much as we can manage. Okay. So Richard, why don't I leave that to you while I finish off a few things here?
Sure. So if we do the full round with a quick description, some of you know me and David. I'm one half of Rethinking Choices. I'm Richard Busolato. Just like David, I live in London. I've spent 30 years and a bit in the investment management industry. I grew up in Sweden. I'm half Italian, and I moved to London 27 years ago. And the last 3 years, David and I have tried to build on this idea for transformational ownership, which we see as the only path to keep a lid on climate change. And we can do it essentially by using capitalist tools and buying out the industry. And that way we can set the trajectory for how much production of oil, gas, and coal we have. That's a brief description. I think we'll start over and we do the full round. Kaka, can you go next?
Okay, thank you, Richard, for this. I want first of all to say thank you for the students that have taken time to join here with us, and I'm pretty sure that you are hoping to have a big launch, trying to incorporate different higher learning institutions. It was a short notice. I'm pretty sure there will be more people over this. I know there are those that are telling me they're in classes and they will not be able to join, but I'm happy for those that are able to join. So majority of us are from Kenya, majorly because of course they are the host for this event. I was also trying to see whether I can able to get a representative from each East African country. I think we have Daniela from Burundi. She's there with us, and a few others. Probably they're going to introduce themselves. So I want to honor this opportunity to invite you all. For those colleagues of mine from the University of Nairobi, I know you're here, and it's not the first time you're having a meeting, so I'm pretty sure they now know you, Richard and David. I think they are now more familiar with the big support you've been having for us here in Africa. So we are grateful, and we are looking forward to have the launch for eaccgn together with the things that gives us joy. So I will honor to just quickly introduce people that are here. Maybe you have Ashley Wanjiro, if you can just say hi and probably say where you study. I can see more people are joining. So Ashley, just go.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm a student at the University of Nairobi, Law Campus, and I'm happy to be here with you.
Okay, welcome, Ashley. We also have Augustine Mwema. Say hi. Tell us where you fly from.
Hi everyone, my name is Augustine Mwema and I'm a student at the Catholic University of Southern Africa. Currently, I'm a volunteer at the Office of Justice, Peace and Integrity of Creation for the Franciscans Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining. Daniela, say hello to us in Gabira.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm Daniela Ngabide from Burundi. I'm a student at ILU, International Leadership University in Leadership and Governance. And I'm glad to be here with you.
It's a pleasure, Daniela. Coach, I'm not sure that you can be able to talk. You are in the class. Lavender?
Hello, guys.
Okay, Coach, so go on.
I'm not able to talk as of now. I'm in a public transport, but I will be able to share my thoughts after a while.
Okay. Lavender?
Hi everyone, my name is Lavender Kerubo from the University of Nairobi. Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome. We have Naftali.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Naftali Orina. I am a student at the University of Nairobi, Faculty of Law. And yeah, we have worked with Kaka. It's been a long way. It's been a long journey. And I'm happy to where we have reached. Yeah, and I would like to thank you and thank everyone for attending in this meeting. And we hope for the best from us and from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Naftali.
We have Camilias, who actually is also part of this. He runs an organization called Natalia Foundation in Tanzania. So he's here with us. I will also want to give him a chance to say hello to us. Camelia Simon, if you can hear us.
He put something in the chat.
It's typed in the chat.
Okay.
He said, I'm Camelia Simon from Tanzania. I'm working with advocating for climate change in Tanzania.
Okay. Probably David and Richard, before we move on, I would love to just quickly give remarks so that I can be able to help let you now talk to us. I'm not sure I've left anyone. I guess not. So we are a community, as you know, and we've been having talks all through. And just to do a rough overview for us to know, we have got a lot of plans underway. In fact, on Saturday we are going to have a physical meeting at some of our partners here in Kenya. It's called Ubunifu Hub. They have been giving us space for meetings and all that. They normally provide for us anytime we have they give us spaces for free whenever we have meetings and all that. So we hope to have a physical meeting to try draft plans and everything, that how things are going to look like. I was trying also to expect to have the host where the launch is going to take place, that is Samuel from Strathmore University. But I think he's also taken away because this daytime, like most of us have got classes. So I think probably after these talks we will be able to see whether maybe on Saturday you'll also be able to join us as well, probably if time allows on your side. And we hope to have, as I mentioned earlier, we hope to have all kind of professions, because it will not make sense if you work alone. You know, we need, when we talk about policies, for instance, that we need to implement and like try to bring on board so that they can be able to work with us. It's a way whereby all of us need to, you know, bring our voices together and you know, a collective responsibility here and there to be able to see this work. We're in a time whereby the government of Kenya actually, for instance, is planning to, you know, there's an event going on at the University of Nairobi currently. We have a wide plan for how to increase forestry cover, and 15 billion Jazamiti initiative that is supposed to is a government plan to plant 15 billion trees in the next 10 years. So if we can incorporate such, for instance, under eaccgn, the area around the trees that we intend to do mass growing of trees, the government can actually give us probably to supply those trees. So these are some of the plans that we're trying to have here in discussion. And we're planning actually to have probably the Ministry for Youth Affairs on that particular day for the launch. We also have a couple of civil societies that will be joining us, like Laudato Si movement and like PACJA. They'll be joining us for this initiative. So it is going to be a more big launch, and pretty sure it's going to accrue a bigger crowd, majorly who are going to be students from here in Kenya, and those from East African countries will be following us online. We're going to be, you know, live in a couple of media houses attending us for that. So we are honored to this, and I quickly want just to say thank you so much for Richard and David for, sacrificing everything. It's not easy for you to give your time and resources and everything else to see this work. I know you've taken a lot of time talking to students, including those in Malawi that were affected by the cyclone. And it's really a sacrifice, and we won't take this for granted. So for us on our side, we are looking forward to see you here in Kenya. And we can't wait to see things that gives us joy being launched together with the eaccgn. And all the other plans are underway. So I want to say thank you. We are also, currently I was expecting to have Lincoln, who is working under the Environmental Club of KU. They have the biggest movement here also in Kenya. I think the most active as well. Is one of our planning in the planning team. And I think they also have some event going on with the UN in their school. That's why he was unable to join. So linearly to say we have a bigger, outreach program and all that. So I want to say thank you, and I want to take this opportunity to give you time to talk, and we'll talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kaka, for the presentation. I think we move on with a bit of practicalities as we move towards the launch on the 5th of May to see what we need to have done and what's still up in the air. So
thank you, Kaka. A couple of things I picked up on from what you were saying, and I think it's important to bring out, because this is where I see the great potential and the hope is, and so on, that the eaccgn can represent. And I hope this speaks to all of you about it. So it's important because you are all students learning it at the moment. And I speak like that because I am in my late 50s and Richard is in early 50s. And we've worked in many different situations. And I used to teach at university. I used to teach at University of Oxford, where I also ran research in physics. So I have some sense of the challenges that you see, but I also understand the huge amount of information and skills that you can bring. So when you think of planting a tree, and we've been speaking to Kaka and a few others about that, it matters that you can bring your knowledge in all the different bodies that you are about where you plant, what you plant, and how you help the communities with the trees that you plant. It is important that the planting trees is connected with the communities, that they serve a purpose for them so that they will look after them, so that they are not simply something that someone else does. That matters more than the number you plant, because when you plant it through the communities in that way, the numbers will naturally come, and they will be the right numbers, because if you plant too many, then you take away too much of that land, and then you will find that they will cut them down. And if you plant too many without taking into account of how it will face the situation with the crazy weather, you will find that the crazy weather will come and take them down before they have the strength to survive them. So all of that are information that you can learn from your classes in every subject, because they all tell stories of us and how we live with the land around us, with the environment around us, and with each other. And I noticed that, some of you come from leadership schools and those sort of things, and this is also a part of what's so fantastic about Africa, is it is that source of restorative justice. And within climate, there is a huge call for justice. But in that call for justice, we mustn't forget that compassion and empathy has to be dominant in it. So when Africa gave us the Truth and Reconciliation Commissions, it was as much about the truth and the reconciliation as it's about the reconciliation. And we feel that today there's a huge sense of injustice about how we have allowed the world to come into this state, especially with the crazy weather that it has. But in achieving that restorative justice, we have to put ourselves out to be the one who will seek to reconcile. not just with ourselves and our grief for having lost a heritage that we have wasted, but to be able to reconcile ourselves, to accept that the world is how it is. And that does not stop us from having that agency to do more and that choice to do a lot better. And that's where this launch is extremely hopeful, and where it's really crucial year. 2023 is a very crucial year. We will see more damages from all the craziness that the weather is creating in every country. In the US, they're seeing it. But the world is lost for a voice. And so you can be at that voice that comes out to say, we can manage in face of everything else. And so as we build up towards that, a side which I would very much love to be able to see and to be able to help in facilitating along in any way, and Richard shared the same as well, are examples that we can bring together into the launch of how we are actually creating livelihoods even in the face of some of the worst damages which the crazy weather is inflicting on people, how we can come together as an orchestra of voices to sing a tune, a song that is, play a tune and a song that is with one voice, and which is to put a lid on climate change. And to do so with joy. And I've recently realized where that joy is, and that joy comes from being connected with each other at the root of it. And that joy is in that connection that we have with each other. And so coming together across the nations in East Africa can show to the world that we can come together with everybody across the world too. And that is hugely important. I noticed there are people from faith groups like Laudato Si, there are people from leadership groups, there are people from the technical sciences, there are people from communities that have been flooded, as in Malawi, and devastated by the storms, and there are people from business communities who come from backgrounds in those areas. And so we can all bring them together into one voice. Now, on the practical side, I don't know what's planned. So I'm not sure what the situation, and Richard and I are very much in the dark with understanding where the event will be, what's the format for it, how it will take place, and how we can get attraction from media into it, because I think that this is time to prepare materials that will allow the media to know what they should be expecting to see from this. And I should add, as part of that, Richard and I have been working with a community in Mathare in Kenya through a young man called Morris, who have really kind of shown how a community coming together can create things, can make it happen for themselves, to look after themselves. And maybe that could be a bit of room that they can do for that somewhere along the way. As an example of how young people can make the transformation happen.
Can you have Francis mute your microphone, please? Odipo, kindly mute your mic. Francis Odipo, kindly, if you can hear us, mute your mic. There's a lot of distraction from your side. All right. David, go on.
If you fill in, like David mentioned, we've been working with this community Mathare with Morris, who we got to know. And we also think this is a very important cornerstone in what needs to happen as we move forward, because people need to be able to build livelihoods around where they live in a world where we're actually cutting back on oil, gas, and coal production. So I think it's a very important, if you like, test case that you actually can find livelihoods and you can build work around these areas, which previously have struggled. Now, as we're moving towards the 5th, like David said, we're a little bit in the dark about the venue, how it will be launched, everything that needs doing, what materials we need to prepare. If we can log in virtually, hopefully David will be there, fairly sure he will be. I will not. Kaka, can you describe a little bit about the venue and where we are presently, so we see what needs doing as we move forward?
Could you kindly just probably continue? I get my machine. I can be able probably to share a few materials on the slides. If you can just talk, just carry on. I get my laptop.
Yes. So
perfect.
I want to say that let's talk a little bit about the things that give us joy, what this campaign is about and what it's trying to do. And I was writing a note about it this morning to Richard to try and make a new presentation for it. So I'm just going to read it out in that way. So basically, divestments, petitions, and protests do not work. So I know it's very very easy to think that we need to protest more and do those things. It raises some awareness, but they do not keep oil, gas, and coal in the ground. No matter how much you protest, all that happens is you get arrested, and you will not succeed. And capitalism created the problem. But that doesn't mean that we cannot use the tools of capitalism to fix it. And to do that, what needs to happen is we all need to come together as a community of 1 billion people from every country in the world. And if you look at the problem and what it is, the essence, the fundamental core of it is that this is a problem that is global. It needs people to come together in a global way to say that we want to keep oil, gas, and coal in the ground, and to say that not as something that someone else will do, but to say we want to be the one in charge so that we can make sure it will be kept in the ground. And that's where the tools of capitalism comes in. The tools of capitalism allows anyone and everyone to be an owner. All you need is that money. And businesses have been talking about how they want to give the world a better place. So we call on them to take all the money that we spend and take a fraction out of that as a fee for maintaining the planet. And we call on them to do that, to demonstrate and prove that they are genuine about their interests, to protect their own business as well as to protect the planet and everyone in it. Because no business will survive the craziness in the weather that we're going to be experiencing. So if they choose not to do that, then we have our ability and our right to boycott them, to take legal actions against them within the constraints of all our laws already do. They are already available. We can apply all of those things. The difficulty at the moment is this aspect that laws require intent. And it also requires heart. And it is hard to prove intent in a situation where everybody needs oil, gas, and coal. But you can create a community by coming together as a community that will put oil, gas, and coal on a roadmap for permanent reduction. If they refuse to join this community by contributing, then that demonstrates their intent. And that's hugely powerful. It gives everyone that choice that makes a difference. You can be in control of your own destiny from this. So what do we do as transformational owners within this transformational ownership community? What we will do is we will buy out all the oil, gas, and coal companies. And within the financial markets, that's something that people do every day, just like people go to supermarkets to buy potatoes. In the financial markets, people go and buy and sell companies every day. And so all the tools necessary for it are all readily available. All the mechanisms are all there for people to use. But unlike owners currently who own them, we will give all the profits to everybody in the world. Literally write everyone a check with them. What that means at the current level is everyone gets about $15, $10, $15 more possibly along at the pace at which we are using oil, gas, and coal. And at the same time, what we will be able to do when you own the coal company and the oil company and the gas company is you can bring the people who work there together and say, we can reduce maybe a few metric tons of coal less out of this coal mine, replace the energy with gas, which is much less emission for the amount of energy that it produces, maybe balance that with a little bit of oil that we may need, so that we have the energy we need, but we keep emissions along the path that COP meetings have pledged and the conferences have pledged and our governments are pledging. So we provide that essential element of leadership, which is to create the ability for people to enforce decisions which are made. Without that, all that happens is everybody talks and we protest and we petition and we try to divest and do things like that, but they will have no effect. This gives us that power of enforcement, an enforcement that keeps governments know when they make us promises, they will be kept because we will keep it for them. What it will also do, once you have that enforcement in place, is the energy transition is now clear. It will happen. And investors seeing that will be able to invest in it with confidence, and they will not need the government subsidies. Governments can now say the path is clear. Subsidies are not necessary. You just have to use your innovations and your entrepreneurship and do your part. And that frees funds up from governments so that they can more directly support their citizens with money that is scarce, helping them with the cost of the transitions and changes in the communities that are necessary. So in this way, it brings about a transformation in how governments can be more helpful, the politics can become clearer about what it is, because consent is given by people everywhere, as a community of 1 billion people from every country to say, we will protect the planet and everyone in it. What it needs is a large number of people and a very joining voices together into one voice. And it has to have that, because if it doesn't, it is simply a group of people trying to enforce something onto others, as opposed to something that people chooses to join together in. And that's where this launch becomes important. And we have to then ask, what are we joining our voices from? If we think of every country of where you are from every community where you are, and think about what is it that drives you. For us, what it is you're signing up for all the things that give you joy. That's what you're seeking to protect. That's what you want to make happen. And that's why this campaign is about the things that give us joy. And we believe that that is what will connect everybody together, because joy connects everyone. And in that connection is where we find our joy. So no one can do it alone. No individual, no government or business. It needs a community of everybody together, and everybody that looks to our future to be able to say, I want to be part of that history, that when our children learn of climate change and their children learn about climate change, they will be able to say, this was the moment when people came together, led by the youths who saw the heritage that they will be passing on, that it will be the day when we put a lid on it. So that's what we want with the launch of the things that give us joy. People talk about it as saying, aren't you being idealistic? Isn't this somewhat fanciful? But what we say is, as a community of 1 billion people, supported by pledges of $1 trillion from businesses, it will be inevitable. So Richard, I see you've got your screen share. Kaka, I see your screen share. Let me give the floor back to you.
Kaka, screen is all yours.
Yeah. So basically, I wanted to do I know we still have a lot to do, but just for the sake of at least for us to be somewhere, I'm trying to share the maps on the venue for the launch for the sake of our. You have not been here before, and also for our other East African university students like those from Burundi. So this is the direction is where the school is. It's in Nairobi, and I'm pretty sure also in your side, if you just click Strathmore University, you can be able to see where it's located. We're also developing a concept note and probably having the budget over the same, and have come with a program. So hopefully the program is going to be shared earlier enough so that you can be able to. Everyone can be able to get a piece of the same. But what we actually intend to do is alongside what David has mentioned, I know that our main focus is things that gives us joy is actually to try to do away with, try to see how we can be able to control oil, gas, and coal. And for me, that one means it needs a collective voice. That means we may need more audience to be here to participate, so that when it comes to issue of consent, probably, and the issue around policies, we can be able to have a stronger voice. And that is why we are trying to, try reach to like everyone who has got interest on this area. That is the business community. And that is why if you look at one of our vision, it's well outlined on what exactly we intend to touch on, and why is it need, like, bring different stakeholders into us so that they can be able to see the need for this. So that we're extending conversation also even on our local organizations here in Kenya. I mentioned earlier about civil society, youth movements, youth enterprises, the government on the youth sectors, and all manner of people that we think they can be able to drive this vision all the same. So I know it's just a meeting we're doing today, but there are more coming. But there's a lot of compost program coming on through, and that's what we're trying to do. We also intend to try, and I was discussing with Lincoln today, and we have actually, I've just seen like one of us, Brian from Ikobana, has joined us, which we're going to give him a chance also to say something to us. And we want to think on a line whereby how has the climate actions help our youth to improve in terms of businesses? How is it improving their lives? And that is why we are also thinking that we can be able to do this as an expo, to be able to giving a platform to the young people who are solving problems in climate injustices, and how that one has helped them to raise a voice across Africa. And a good example is Brian, who is here with us, who are the founder of Ikobana. Ikobana, as I mentioned earlier, is it's an invention whereby they came with sanitary pads out of banana fiber, and this one has led them to win 100 million Kenyan shillings, which means to me that they can be able to create more employment on the area across climate justice. So such inventions help our young people also to know that alongside what they are doing in climate justice, they can actually to be able to create a livelihood over the same. We have Takasafi and so many others that around Kenya who have tried, like, come with inventions in area around climate, and it leads them somewhere. People like Larry Dwayne, who is a rapper in climate, has also helped him in some way. So alongside from that, just the launch, it's not a launch, but it's a launch that has got, we have got a directive way on how we want to do this. So that's the ideal. Ideally, what is in our mind is we are trying to organize for this, and I'm pretty sure we will also be able to be giving our counterpart from East Africa, I think Simon from Malawi. They also have kind of an invention that they are doing in Malawi. they will be able to do a presentation probably on that particular day. So that's how things look like. And as we proceed also, probably could also be able to be giving to, Brian is here with us, and I thank him for honoring this. We aim to partner on this on a long plan vision for eaccgn. Yes, so I think we're somewhere. We are not yet done with the concept note and the program. So immediately we are done with this, we can be able to share with you so that you can be able to get exactly what this means. So that's the map, how it look like.
So if I understand that, I think there's this part where there's a showcase. There's a showcase element. I mean, I think what, for me, what you're talking about, and from our own perspective of what this is to say we are rather than we will be. It's not to say, so this is something about be able to show the world how a community in the place where everybody from countries like us, sort of Richard and I live in the UK. I just visited Switzerland over the weekend, spoke with people from America and other places, generally look to Africa with the message of how it's devastated. And if you look to, for example, in the Laudato Si movement's film, The Letter, that had the people from the corners of the world going to visit the Pope, it has the image of this is the continent of the poor, and these are the devastations, and so on. I think that I see it differently. I see this as the place of how we discover who we are with regards to the world around us. And I was talking with some people before, and they're saying, why don't I use the word nature? Because I find that odd. I find it odd to think of nature as being separated from our communities. We are all one together, on a planet. And that's why I always find that I end up using the world around us rather than the nature around us. But from what you're saying, I see the image that forms in my mind is really showcases of the things that we do, so that people, if we get the media, we get the attention to actually explore it out. They are showcases of how we create livelihoods, how we create innovations along. But here I want to make an important point, because Richard and I spent 30 years in investments, and we know that investments in the way that they work at the moment make the world worse. And we wrote a book called The Unsustainable Truth about it. And it's unique in pointing out just how, when we go along and we think we have solutions that have to be really successful, we start making it wrong. It's really about solutions that are appropriate to all the places that they come from and have the ability to change and evolve as they go on through. And I think that those are parts that, from what I've heard from the people, they come out in many, many different ways. So I think we can actually emphasize how that is, that we're not talking about the same economics either. And I see it also as a voice of agency. And so the whole event to demonstrate that actually, although there is a very strong case, why money that is owed through its development to places like Africa and so on, is essentially money that the world has not spent in the past on maintaining the planet, but really is actually a debt owed in that way. It's not, we don't depend on it for it to come, for us to feel we can do things. Because in the world we're going to, I think those calls for money fall on very deaf ears because people won't have that money to give, and they'll be very concerned about it. So a different voice, and a voice that actually says to the world, we are capable, we have power, we have imagination, we have creativity, and we have love for each other, and we are joyful people. And that's why we want to protect the planet and everyone in it. And I think showcasing that from all the groups that Kaka has suggested. So if things haven't been fully planned, that would be, for me, a fantastic sort of image to have, where you go along, you're welcomed, media is welcomed, students are welcomed, their parents are welcomed, businesses are welcomed, to come together as a community where, as students in eaccgn, you learn about what the environment, how we can work with it, you learn about how the crazy weather comes about and what it actually means to our economics, what it actually means to our science, to our environment and our communities. And you learn about how to create livelihoods, and how, so that this is like the community that encompasses all the other communities. Because that's really the only way we're going to find ourselves able to face the situations ahead. So all these other things, I think, somehow to be able to have a theme that goes through. Sorry, Kaka, I'll shut up now.
Yeah, so thank you, David. I just wanted to say that there is really need for like I find sometimes there's this common Swahili proverb that says sometimes, even though not all the time, you might blame people for whatever they are doing, but basically they are doing it because they don't have information. So you'll find that probably there are habits that probably are harmful to our environment, but people don't have information. And that is why, to me, when it comes to, I remember there's a time we were talking with you, David and Richard, and I told you about some students that were, they were detained in Uganda for demonstration against EACOP, and I think I had shared this story more than once. And basically what we did is to did a petition, and we see this petition helping in this essence. The voice that came through the signings and all that, it helped us to pull out the students from being detained in cell and all that. So this big essence, because they say there's no way you can appreciate light unless you have experienced darkness before. So coming from a continent that has got resources, whereby majority of the things that we do here, like if you look at the area around medicine, all the research are done in Africa. There's need for us also to have this voice come out through strongly. And that the only way we can do this is, first of all, to ensure that we have got everybody on board. And that's why I'm telling you, government is not an exception in this. Either they are going to take it positively or they're going to get negatively. It's our mandate and our responsibility to stand strong. You come here, Kenya, deliver to us, give them information on what is needed and how this thing can be transformed to communities. Because I said, amid of us struggling and doing marches and all kind of thing, trying to champion for climate justice using banners in streets, there's a student somewhere in Turkana who cannot go to school because of a lack of school fees. And that is a real need for us. Someone else is sleeping hungry because of the kind of, the harsh weather and all that. And those are the issues that I think, to me, matters a lot, because having an inclusive planet whereby we enjoy right and freedom and all the kind of thing, it will not make sense to us to have people making wealth, the wealthier communities getting wealthy every now and then, but then there are people who are deprived in terms of resources and all that kind of thing. So we are going to move ahead anyway as a group and bring all these voices together. And I thank God because the response is coming out strongly from East Africa and actually outside Africa. We have yesterday got a call also from South Africa, and I'm pretty sure with time this is going to be a more composed voice. And if I would also wish to probably on the the launch, I want people to pledge that they are going to work on these parameters. And how we are going to do this, we can do this through either signing on that particular day, or through anything that can put a landmark or a landprint on a piece of paper to ensure that everybody is going to pledge to work on this. I know that David, you and Richard, you have a vision at least of bringing 1 billion people on this platform to be able to take this story to COP, so that you can be able to buy coal, gas, and oil as just another commodity. So that's where like the mind we have, and with time, probably by Saturday, we'll be able to have reached to somewhere. And as we go by, you'll be able to see how many people will be able to be joining us and willing to do this. So yeah, thank you, David. You can carry on.
Okay, so picking up on those things, what I just picked up from what Kaka is saying. So first thing, 100 questions. Get 100 questions together about climate, about communities, about anything, all the things that are relevant along. And have those questions where you can answer them. That's the education. Have the questions from people, have the questions from yourself, and so on. And at the launch, make answering those questions part of what students can do. So some of the things that goes along, and we can prepare our answers, and other people can do that and can do. Second thing, run workshops. Invite government officials and actually tell them about what planting trees actually mean, for example, because it's not just a policy. Tell them about how planting trees and communities can work together, as we know you've done so in Kajido or Kisarian we talked about when you were doing those things there, and tell them about what direct solar power can do, how much there is, as we've talked about, and I've talked about it in many ways, and what technology actually means. Because if it's a technology that you cannot afford to fix when it goes wrong, or that in a crisis of a flood, or as a result of you've lost the logistic transport, and even if you have the money to fix it, you can't get the people to come along and fix it for you, then that's not the right technology for you. But as an example, in Malawi gets about 8 kilowatt hour of energy every day in a square meter. So hold your hands out around to around half the size of your body and a little bit more, and form a square of that size. Over a day, that will give you 6 kilowatt hour of energy. That's enough to cook 80 kilograms of rice. So that's how much energy you have. With that, you can ask your engineering-minded students and say, can you make a steam engine out of it? If you create a steam engine out of it, you have a technology using the sun that does not rely on you having to pay money you cannot afford in communities that are far too remote for energy grids to be provided, and for them to be able to generate electricity, provide mechanical power, cook, do all the things that you would wish. So those are different aspects of that. So you can invite governments, officials, run workshops about things that students can genuinely do. So school fees and student fees. Showcase things like Sunita Gandhi's education at the primary level of literacy. And we've been talking with Morris in Matare after understanding about how one of the people that are helping with the technology there had to drop out of university because they couldn't pay the 80,000 Kenyan shillings of fees a year. But how do you turn that into 8,000 Kenyan shillings? And if you look around the internet today, there are plenty of courses that can fit together to make up a university course. What it needs is for the people to spend the time to say, combine that one, do that one, followed by that, as you have when you attend a university. And you can change the shape of education in that way too. And that's something that we can talk about along with it. And we've been talking about it with regards to the World Climate School that's run by a Norwegian lady. Into tackling those things. And we can talk to academic staff and says, be part of this, bring it about. Use your talent, spend a little bit of time, so that you can devise those things so everybody can have that chance, and how to make that work. So those are just from what Kaka is talking about, and what comes to me as saying how you can blend all those things into the launch and make that launch very rich, where you invite people in from officials and governments and educate them about what it means for the environment and climate and the crazy weather and the things that we need to do to transit in that way without money, because we won't have that money, or with very little money. How we can have questions and answers that students can provide to others, so that when they come along, there's a booth that says, let's talk about, crazy weather. Let's talk about solar energy. Let's talk about whatever it is. And we can answer questions in those, but we need to prepare that with, say, 100 questions. We can talk about how we can change education. We can change education not just in terms of the base primary school level, but change the shape of university education, of tertiary education for places like Kenya, for places like Malawi, for places where people are finding money will come harder and harder to come by, but they have the intelligence and the ability and all the skills to do so. And we can do that as proposals, as pitches to say, here's the shape of it, be part of that. Kaka?
All right. Thank you so much, David, for that. And we can't wait for this day. And we also hope that it's going to be, it's going to go a long way in our way of transforming people's lives. So I want to give to someone called Brian from Ikobana. I know they have got a very interesting story. You can just say it in like 2 minutes. You need to know who these guys are. They come from St. Paul University, St. Paul University, and they have an interesting story. Brian, if you can hear me, just carry on. Introduce yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Thank you so much, Kaka. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we can hear you fine. Go on, Brian, please.
So my name is Brian Ndongo. I'm the Chief Communication and Marketing Officer at Ikobana. And what we basically do at Ikobana is we manufacture biodegradable and cost-effective sanitary pads from banana fibers. So one of the fine days when the president, now the 4th president of Kenya, was awarding a lady because of what she had done in the menstrual hygiene space, we thought, why wouldn't we step in and come up with something that will help our girls? So we started research and then came up with that thing of making sanitary pads from banana fibers. So the stem, basically, the stem, it's usually left to rot in the ground or give to cows. So for us, that's our primary raw material. So we take it, process it, remove the fibers, and make our biodegradable sanitary pads. So we participated, now we've been participating in different innovation competitions. Some we've lost, some we've won. And now last year, 2022, we won in the HALT Prize 2022 Global Award. We scooped $1 million USD, and now trying to use it perfectly to make sure that this business of ours, or this startup, this enterprise has grown. As of now, we've already registered company here in Kenya, and we're working towards ending period poverty and making sure that girls don't drop out of school just because of their menses. Yeah, so basically that's who I am and what we do at Ikobana. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brian, and you're much welcome. I know we still have to talk more of this, how we can be able to partner on this. So at least this is for the sake of thousands of us who are also in this space, that there is something we can always do alongside what we do. To me, that's an inspirational to me, and I believe more innovations can come that are actually eco-friendly, because if you see their line of duty, it's actually eco-friendly. David mentioned about if it is a technology that is going to make things more worse to an extent that you cannot control, then we should not go for that. But I think for me, in line of what really works with environment, because if they are biodegradable, probably they cannot be able to harm environment. So we'll be honored to have you, Brian, and your team on that particular day of the launch. And I'm pretty sure we also have other inspirational stories that are around this place. And we can't wait to have you all. And just to say that we need a lot of push from our side, students from East Africa, to make this a success. So back to you, Richard and David. I'm not sure the amount of time remaining from our side.
And thank you, Brian. Just to say, it might be interesting actually, because if you're working with the bananas and so on, that when we were in discussion with Maurice Matari about his community there, and they're making lip balm, and lip balm out of discarded avocado and beeswax and so on, that actually that there is a great opportunity in the sense of being able to spread the empowerment of thinking that you can create things that you wouldn't otherwise be. So I think for people at the launch, I think those sort of stories of how it came about, from that sort of aspect, and how we can move forward, can really again help with this aspect where people can look to eaccgn, not just students currently, but students to come, and actually see that by becoming a part of this community, how they can learn more than, in that sense, that education. And in this way, I've been talking to Kaka about an idea that we've had, which actually may well fit and may be part of all of this. We have, for example, there's a group at the moment trying to run a conference at the Catholic University of East Africa, and the organizer is in Nigeria, and we started talking to them about what can help. And and it's going to be in late April. And one of the things that they're talking about is, the problem they have is, how do you provide lunch? Very simple thing, very basic thing. How do you provide lunch to maybe somewhere between 100 to 300 participants? The numbers are not exactly clear. He's trying to find that out. And we were saying, if it costs you maybe 500 shillings to buy a lunch, or 400 shillings to buy a lunch, is it possible? And I know I've done this here with communities in the UK and so on, that you can create a simple food for, say, at a cost of something like 200-300 shillings per person, sell it for 400 to 500 shillings. That gives you 100 to 200 shillings profit per person. And if you can do that, you make some money out of it. Now, the way that you can do it is then actually that if the community, if the network, the eaccgn in the school or whatever, can help provide some of that basic capital that's needed. And that was my suggestion to them on a chat yesterday. Then the profit that can made above that the profit that are made above that can go to the students. The support that's provided can go back into the community, and maybe a part of that initial profit, what we consider with Richard and I and talking with Matare, is a quarter of it goes back to goes into the eaccgn chapter in that place, and that can then help fund other ideas that come along from the Cuban student community. You create the opportunity by which the whole network becomes self-funded through taking actions which are part of your climate actions in whichever form. And when you go along and you provide that lunch, the way it becomes part of your climate action, it goes to that education. You're able to speak to the people and actually extend that sensitization, as the words have been, that messaging along to other people along, as you go along and you talk to the people who supply the goods for you to make that lunch. You can talk to them about why you're doing it, and you bring it into their practical lives. And in this way, you create a means by which the whole green network can become self-financed along the way. And that ensures that you're never going to run out of money in that form. And you bring in ventures that can come out of it into the future, and they can take different forms, and you leave a legacy behind where people will be able to say, that's the group that you want to belong to, that's the group that makes it all happen. And it's a new groups, as there have been many kind of associations where the focus is not on commerce, but on living, protecting the planet and its people. And that's how economics emerges, starting from protecting the planet and its people, as opposed to economics that starts from commerce.
Okay, thank you so much, David. I'm not sure that there are people who just joined us that didn't have a chance to say hi to us. I can say Simon from Malawi. If you can hear us, just say hello to us quickly. Simon?
Hello. Yeah, I'm Simeon Kalua. I'm a graduate from the University of Livingstonia, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank
so
you
much,
for being here.
Yeah, and make sure we extend the conversation on some of the startups in Malawi. Thank you. I can see Queen Letema. And by the way, David, as we just proceed, if you could drop the links as well for rethinking choices and things that gives us joy for people to sign on the box better, I would really concur with that. Yeah, the link is coming soon for the event registration, and I think it's also good for and even actually the LinkedIn a link on that note. Yeah, so Tobias Odachak, are you here with us? I can see Kami TV. Just to ensure that on our chat box also people.
Maybe they are having lessons or they're in a lecture.
Yeah. So then I think David and Richard, if you can end there, I think that is that's a very good. I can see the link have been shared on the LinkedIn. Kindly, guys, I know we are a very active country, especially Kenya is first-hand information country. Let us quickly hit the link and check. There's a lot of information, a lot. I can see a lot of information on those that have been posted there. They really just click and check on through. There are things that will help you. I was actually telling students yesterday that additionally what we do, like me being a law student, I'm not tied to follow law when I finish anyway. Likewise to others, here, many of us, you find that there's always something additional you can do alongside what you're studying in for. There's a talent, you have a talent somewhere that you can use to earn a living and all kind of things. So let us try to check, because they say information is power. And to me, that means a lot. When you don't have information, then it becomes a problem as well. So let us kindly sign up for all those links that have been dropped there. We are also available on all our social media. Instagram, Twitter, I've just dropped a Twitter link over there. Just check follow and see what you've been doing for now a while. So I think I would also like to mention that it's our dream also that we'll be able to have in alongside to the green network that we intend to do and the green actions that we are doing. We want to work so closely with the government with the initiative that they have, the 15 billion Jazamit initiative. And that's why we are saying campuses and leadership probably going to have a meeting for the leadership in different campuses here, and that we need spaces to grow more trees in the campuses side, not just to to work in line with what the government is providing, but also to create an enterprise on our side. So I wish to thank everybody who have joined us here today. Thank you all for being part of us here. So I think if we don't have much then to say, then I'm going to end. We're going to end there, and as we catch up on Saturday, we're going to have a physical meeting at Ubunifu Hub along Thika Road, next to the Mountain Mall. If you can ally with me for direction. We'll be able to have now a draft plan, come with a program, have a list of guests that will be attending us here, and I'm pretty sure we'll be able to have a good progress. So I say thank you so much for everyone who have joined. If there's not much, then we can end there. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaka. Thank you so much on your side. Thank you to everyone here. Very important, David just dropped into the chat the 100 questions so that we come prepared to the launch, because there will be questions asked about what we want to do. So think about them.
And ask, when Kaka talked about the governments, ask government officials 100 questions, different ones around, the county level and so on, and they will come to you. Should we do this? Should we do that? And then we can help them. We can organize a session by which they can talk about those things at the launch and make it do it that way. Ask the media for their questions so that you can invite the media there so that they will be there, because you're going to answer their questions, and we can help you answer their questions. Ask your friends, your families for the questions so that they can understand, and you can actually provide that kind of sensitization you want to. And use the launch to be the event by which people will go to, not just to say that this is a group of people launching, but actually to go to because they will learn and they will be part of that education, which has come through very strongly in the comments that have been made along the way, and be part of that. And we can help you with providing with what we see as answers, and you can get the answers from other places. And I'm pretty sure we can do better than ChatGPT, but that's a different issue.
Yeah, and I think actually what we can do basically is we can prepare for sure. We can actually prepare somewhere where people can drop those questions. I don't know whether that one can work. Do you think?
Yeah, we can prepare a form for people. Maybe we can just have Google form where people can just pop in those questions, and then you can put them under, maybe 5, 6, 7 different categories. But what you want is actually you want you want to go to the officials and say, why don't you give us the questions that's really troubling you? Why does COP not work? Or whatever it is, does it work? How do I deal with protesters? Those kind of questions, right? They're very practical, very real questions. And yes. How do we go along and get the real questions along? And others might say, how do I help my family with the, how does being part of this network help my family along with that? And then get them to share some information, some background if they can, and so that we can actually respond. And we will find that there are groups and there are shapes to it, so that we actually turn the event into an invitation to them to join, to participate.
I'm pretty sure when it comes to media, we're going to have media. We're going to have a couple of media houses that particular day. So we will have a session, all kind of thing, because one of the things that really amazes me the most is that why hasn't never the government really wishing to, if you look at UN, they are always at the periphery, even at the COP level. They don't really come out strongly to address the issue that are, facing climate injustice. So that's why I don't understand. But I think probably that day we can be able to raise questions also on the government and try and see what is going to unfold.
Yeah, but so, ask them before. Ask, if there are local media that can do it, ask for, have them post the question they want to ask about themselves, about their own situation. Tell them to, take your media hat off to ask as you've seen all these things. What's the question that you think, you know, you really wonder, as you say, exactly that sort of question that you have, and you know, go beyond just your local media in that case, because they can then go and ask, you know, ask DW, ask you know, kind of Euronews, ask BBC, ask, you know, kind of the news in Asia and all those things, and get a much broader Reuters and people, and say, you know, give us your questions, and then come and attend and hear the answer.
Then thank you so much. I think, David, we can end it there, and then we'll be able to catch up on Saturday. Is that all?
Thank you very much from everybody.
Thank you
Thank
all,
you.
and I wish everyone a good day.
And Kaka,
Thank you so much, everyone.
Need to talk about planning for trips and things. I need your help.
Yeah, we can today. How is your schedule today?
We'll do that on WhatsApp. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you then, all everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
I'll end the meeting now. Thank you.